Boy, James Gunn really painted a target on himself by going after Martin Scorsese, huh? In case you forgot what happened, Martin was like, Marvel films aren't cinema. They're not cinema. They don't belong in that category. Despite what cinema actually means by definition, but sure, let's get to that. Let's get to James Gunn getting blasted from all sides by hatred because he defends movies. Before we get into this, yes, Martin Scorsese is considered and is one of the greatest directors of our time. Nobody's going to argue that. If you argue that, you're wrong. He's up there with the greatest directors of all time. Peter Jackson, Francis Ford Coppola, and countless others who have made timeless classics. He's up there with them. Don't try to dispute that. Don't argue that in the comments. Don't try to hate on Martin Scorsese because of what he said, because it's his opinion. Because if you put down his accomplishments, you're wrong. The man redefined cinema in his own way. So I'm not even going to argue that. I just don't agree with what he said when he said Marvel films are not cinema, because by definition they are, and cinema literally allows for all sorts of expression. So, you know, you can make different films and they're still cinema. Just because it's a comic book movie and you perceive it as less doesn't mean it's not valuable. I mean, is anybody going to argue against that? Because the same people, like, shouting from the rooftops, yeah, Marty said it's not cinema, will be like, but BVS is. What? So James Gunn responded to this, and here's what he said that got him so much hatred. And he said, and I quote, "It just seems awfully cynical that Scorsese would keep coming out against Marvel, and that this is the only thing that would get him press for his movie. He's creating his movies in the shadow of the Marvel films, and so he uses that to get attention for something." End quote. So in case you misunderstood or don't understand what he said, James Gunn said, Scorsese only blasted the Marvel films because they're popular, because he knows that if he did, he would get attention on his film. Which is true. Tell me how much you care about what Stephen Dorff said a month ago. Oh, you cared a lot because he was saying Black Widow bad. How about 6 months prior to that? You forgot he existed. If you go after the most popular thing, all eyes are on you. Who do you know that was openly talking about how great Martin Scorsese's Netflix film was gonna be, who was so hyped about it that knew it was coming out? Probably not as many people that got eyes on it because he was blasting Marvel to promote it. And that's the way you do it. We see everybody does it now. It's just the norm, right? They're the most popular. It makes sense. I don't disagree with James Gunn. It was smart. And mind you, Martin Scorsese putting out a crime film on Netflix 2 years after he blasted streaming saying it's not cinema. Again, isn't that literally him being hypocritical, along with many other people who are now signing giant Netflix deals who were once saying streaming is not the same, it's cheap, it's not worth it. Again, guys, look, James Gunn, what he said is correct. Can you agree with Martin Scorsese as well? Sure. But then don't defend other comic book properties that you like at the same time. Don't go out there defending whatever other film you like that's not a crime thriller or whatever that's covered in CG. Because then you're going to look like a hypocrite. By Martin's definition, Star Wars A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back are garbage. Because they were science fiction things made to sell toys for kids. Do you agree with him?